welcome to this video. Today I'm going to give you a tour of my new Google Sheets Simple Daily Planner. I already have several other planners in my shop, but I really wanted to create something that was smaller, more compact, simpler. So I hope you like this new layout that I came up with. I'm going to start by giving you a quick overview of how it works, how everything is connected, and then I'm going to show you how the template looks like when you first receive it, and I'm gonna fill out an example. So if you're interested in purchasing the template, I'm going to leave the link to it in the description, but you can also just watch this video, get inspired, and build your own layouts. So let's get into it. So this is what the main tab of the template looks like, and the first thing you have to do is you have to set the start date. So if you double click on this cell, you can set any start date that you like, and then dates for 6 weeks will be filled automatically. So as you can see, you can plan up to 6 weeks in one tab, and every single week looks exactly the same. You're gonna start by adding your week's top goals over here. You have some room for notes, and then every single day looks exactly like this one. You get your date that is filled automatically based on the start date, and then you have this section over here that's meant for your schedule, and this section will be initially blank, so you can decide if you want to create a super specific routine and track every single thing that you do throughout the day, or if you just want to add special events or things that are happening outside of your regular routine. And the way this works is all 3 columns are optional, so you're going to start by adding the name of your activity, and then if you like, you can set a start time, and you can also set an end time. Both of them are optional, but if you do decide to use both the start time and the end time, you're going to see that this column over here will be filled automatically, and it will be showing the amount of time that went by from the start time to the end time. So as I mentioned, it's initially blank, but later in the video I will give you some ideas of how you can use this to create your own structure. And whenever you're done with an activity, you can use the checkboxes, and you'll see that the progress bar moves automatically. So this progress bar over here is only connected to this schedule, and then you have 4 sections over here. In this first one, you have room for your most important tasks. These absolutely have to get done, and then down below you have room for additional tasks, so this could be your nice to have, and then over here you have room for your most important habits. So the whole vibe of this template is to keep it simple, so this is not going to have a huge habit tracker with a million things that you have to do every day. If you're starting small, you can just pick the top 5 things that are going to have the most impact in your life, and you can just keep track of those over here. And then down below you have room to plan your meals, so it's just a blank space for you to type your meal plan in whichever way you prefer. And then these 3 sections over here, as you can see, they have checkboxes, and all 3 of them are connected to the second progress bar over here. So as you can see, as soon as I'm done checking all boxes for all 3 sections, this progress bar reaches 100%. So this first progress bar is connected to the schedule, and then the second progress bar is connected to these 3 sections. And as I mentioned, this is a blank space initially. I thought it would be a good place to plan your meals, but if you prefer, it can become something else. And you can actually change this label very easily from the settings tab. So I'm just going to jump in the settings tab, and I'm going to come back here and talk a bit more about it later in the video. But I just want to show you that if you want that section to become something else, you can change any label in the template from this table. So if I change this to fitness, and then I jump back into the example, you're gonna see that this label changed on every single day automatically. So the same thing is gonna happen to every single label. So you can either call those sections something else, or you can translate them to a different language. And as I mentioned, every single week looks exactly the same, and every single day looks exactly the same. So most of the template is pretty self-explanatory. As you might have noticed, you will only edit cells that have a white background, and then everything else either has labels that you should only change from this section right here, or it has important formulas. Now, there is one super important thing to remember about this tab, and it's the fact that once you select the start date and you start adding information on every single one of these days and using your checkboxes, you should not change this date again. And the reason for that is that these sections right here, they are just plain text that you are manually adding. So what's going to happen is if you change the start date, all dates are going to update, but your texts will remain wherever you added them. They will not be moved around. So it's very important that once you set the start date and you start working on your template, you don't change those dates. And later in the video, I am going to show you the proper way to start over on a new blank tab. And it's going to be very easy, so don't worry about that. I'm going to show you how that works later in the video. So as I mentioned, this is the main tab of the template, and it's just basically one big calendar, and every week looks the same and every day looks the same. Now, if you're thinking that these sections are too small and you won't have room to add all the things that you want to add, don't worry. I also included a weekly version. So this second tab over here, it's the weekly version, and it works exactly the same way. The only difference is that you will only get 7 days. So as you can see, I'm scrolling to the right, and you'll only have 7 days in this one tab, and each day will have a lot more space on every single section. So if you find that this one is too small and you don't have enough room for all the things that you want to add, you can also use the second tab over here, the weekly version. And when it comes to the start date, the same rule applies as in the monthly version. Once you set the start date and you start working on each individual day, you should not change the date, because if you do, your texts will not be moved around. So these are the two planner layouts that the template includes. And one cool feature that I added on both of these tabs is the fact that if a date is in the past, I'm just going to go ahead and select a start date that is in the past. So July 28 was yesterday for me, and as you can see, it was scratched automatically and all labels were grayed out automatically. And then July 29, that's today for me, and as you can see, that is being shown in a bolder font. And then today is Monday, that is also being shown in a bolder font, and the current week is also being shown in a bolder font. And whenever you're done with an entire week, that week label will also be scratched automatically. And whenever you are done with the entire tab, you're gonna see that this whole thing is completely grayed out. Every single label is grayed out, signaling that you are done with this tab and it's time to start over on a new one. And it will also happen in this tab over here. So if you're seeing that something is scratched like this, that's because that date is in the past. And finally, I also included a bonus tab. It's just a 12-month calendar that's there for visual reference. So this is what it looks like when you first receive it. It's completely empty. So you get to decide the start month. It can be anything you like. You select the month from the drop-down, you set the year, and you're gonna see that corresponding month is the first one that gets filled over here, and then you can view 11 months ahead. And the current day will be highlighted. As you can see, it's getting highlighted over here, and similar to what happens with dates in the past, this also gets scratched. Every date that's in the past will get scratched. So there's nothing that you should do in this tab. It's just a visual reference, and you can change the start month as often as you like, and all dates will be filled automatically. So that's just a visual reference in case you need it. And in this tab, you can also decide if you want your calendars to start on a Sunday or on a Monday. So right now I have them set to Monday, but if I jump into the settings tab and I change this to Sunday, you're gonna see that those calendars are now starting on a Sunday. So that was an overview of how the template works, how everything is connected. And for the second part of the video, I'm going to show you exactly what the template looks like when you first receive it. I am going to show you how to change the color very easily in case you don't want it to be pink. I will walk you through what you have to do whenever you're ready to start over on a new tab. And I'm also going to talk a little bit more about the schedule section. Everything else is pretty self-explanatory, but the schedule section, there's different ways in which you can use it. So I want to give you a few ideas in case you find that useful. So this is what the template looks like when you first receive it. You have your settings tab, you have your 12-month calendar tab, and then you have the monthly version and the weekly version. And as you can see, you have two additional tabs over here, and both of these have little locks in them, and that means that you should never edit them directly. The only purpose of these tabs is to allow you to create additional blank copies. So whenever you're ready to start over on a new tab, what you're going to do is you're going to jump into either the monthly version or the weekly version, and you're going to right click, select the option duplicate, and you're going to see that a new blank tab appears over here right next to it. This one does not have a lock, so all you have to do is double click on the tab name and customize the name. So that can be September, for example. And then you can move this tab around and organize it however you prefer. So this is what you're going to do every single time that you need to create a new blank tab. All you have to do is duplicate it and then double click and rename it, and you can keep as many tabs as you like inside one file. And then whenever you're done with your tabs, if you don't want to keep them, all you have to do is right click and select the option delete. Okay, and they will be gone. So you can create whatever structure you like in terms of your tabs. So I'm just going to delete this other tab that I created as an example. And in your template, you will find these two blank tabs over here. These are just duplicates of the blank originals that I created for you. So you can start working on these ones if you like. So I'm just going to work on this one. And as you may recall, to get started, you have to set the start date. So I'm just going to double click on this cell and let's do maybe September. And this can absolutely be any day that you like. If your weeks start on a Friday, it can be a Friday, it can be anything you like. Just remember the one rule: once you set the start date and you start working on your template, you should not change that date because these texts will not be moved around. So let's talk a bit more about the schedule section. As you might recall from the beginning, the first thing you do is you add your activity. And then if that's all you want to add, that's totally fine. You don't have to use the start time and the end time. But if you do want to use them, the proper format for your times is you add the hour, then you do a colon, and then you do the minutes, space, and then either AM or PM. And if you're not going to add any minutes, a shortcut is to just add the hour, space, and then either AM or PM. And as you can see, if you decide to use both the start time and the end time, what's going to happen is you're going to see the amount of time that went by in between both. So if this was 8:15 AM, for example, you're going to see 2 hours and 15 minutes. So this is completely automated and you should never edit it, because if you do touch this area, you're going to mess it up. So the easiest way to use this is, if you don't really care about having a schedule, you can add only special things that are happening that are outside of your routine. So I'm just going to fill it out with an example. So as you can see, I just added a meeting over here, a soccer game, and then dinner with someone. And then if you like, you can add colors. So for example, I'm going to select these 3 cells and I'm going to use this bucket over here to change the color. So you can add a touch of color to make it look prettier if you like, or you can just keep it with the white background, and that's also fine. And then once you're done with those tasks, you can check the box. So that's the simplest way to use this. And then my second suggestion is to create a routine. So what you can do is you can create your routine in one day. I'm just going to fill this out very quickly. So this is what your routine could look like. For example, you work out, you meditate, you get ready, you have breakfast, and then you work for a big block of time. So as you can see, this lasts for 3 hours, and then you have your break, and then you work for another 5 hours. So this is your routine. And what you can do is you can just create it in one day and then copy. As you can see, I'm only copying the activity, the start time, and the end time. I am not touching this area and I am not touching the checkboxes. So you can create your routine in one day and then copy it and paste it on the rest of the days. And then you can use the checkboxes to track your routine throughout the day until you are done. My third suggestion is that you create your regular routine at the top, and then whenever something new, something special is happening, you can add it at the bottom and highlight it. The order doesn't matter, so you can do whatever you like. You can skip rows if you like. You can use only the start time and ignore the end time if you like. And another option is to create your routine in a way that you leave some room to add things in between. So you could create this as your main layout, and then you copy it and paste it on other days. And whenever you need to add something in between, you can just go ahead and do that. And then maybe something down here. So you can build your routine in a way that leaves some room to add things in between in your bigger blocks of time, and you can use the checkboxes to keep track of your activities until you are done. And finally, you can also merge cells together. So for example, if you want this to look like a bigger block of time, what you can do is maybe select a couple of cells and then merge them together using this merge cells button up here. So you could do that. You have to do it separately, the activity and both times. So once you do that, it can look something like this, and it will respond to the first checkbox, but you can also merge these together and make it just one. So once you click on merge cells, you can just click on OK, and then you'll get just one checkbox. So it could end up looking something like this, for example, and then you can copy and paste. In this case, you would have to bring the checkboxes with you, just so you don't have to merge them again. So you can copy and then paste over here, and that will work fine as well. You can merge cells, but personally, I would just prefer to use them as one row, but it's entirely up to you. And that's the main reason why I wanted this to be empty. I wanted you to be able to create your own layout, and once you're happy with it, you can just copy and paste it on the rest of the days. So those are all the ideas that I came up with of how you can use this section. Just remember, you have to use the proper time format for this feature to work properly. So that's the hour, colon, the minutes, space, and then either AM or PM. And if you are not adding any minutes, a shortcut is to only add the hour, space, and then either AM or PM. And my favorite part about this is you can play around with it, you can mess it up, and it doesn't matter because you always have your blank originals over here. And if you ever mess up your versions, you can come back to these originals, right click, duplicate, and start over. And finally, if you don't want the template to be pink, what you're gonna do is you're gonna click on Format, Theme, and then you're gonna click on Customize. So these are the colors that I used, and make sure that when you are replacing them, if you see a darker shade of pink, you replace it with a darker shade of any other color. And then if you see a light shade of pink, you replace it with a light shade of any other color, just to make sure that fonts don't get lost. And then you can keep going with the rest of the colors. So I'm just gonna bring those back. And finally, once you're done changing your overall theme color, you can also change the progress bar color. You do that on the settings tab. So you need to add a hex value over here that represents the color that you want your progress bars to be. The one for black, for example, is 6 ones. So as soon as I change that hex value, you're gonna see that the progress bar changed color. Every single one of my progress bars changed color as well. So I'm just gonna bring it back, and you can either look up hex values for different colors online, or you can very easily find them here. You can just click on any white random cell, and then you're gonna click on this paint bucket over here, the fill color, and then you're gonna click on this plus sign that says add custom color, and you're gonna move this around. You're gonna play around with it until you find a color that you like, and once you like it, all you have to do is copy this value, click on cancel, and then paste it over here, and then your progress bars will become that color. And we're done. So that's it for this video. I hope you liked it. I hope you find it useful. If you're interested in purchasing the template, I am going to leave the link to my shop in the description. And as I mentioned, this is a simpler layout, but if you're interested in something more elaborate, I am also going to leave some of my other templates in the description in case you're interested in checking those out. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out and I'll be happy to answer them. Thank you so much for watching.